I don't know that everybody knows who's here. Of course, I'm Sheriff Chris Nanos. John Edwards is the Tucson chief here for the FBI, and he'll have some words for you as well. This is really, for me, pretty new, all the media attention. So I apologize to you for sometimes I'm speaking in generalities, and I'm not used to everybody hanging on to my words and then trying to hold me accountable for what I say, but I understand. So we're going to try our best to be succinct with you in the future. And also more important for you to understand is we have a lot of work in front of us. We have a job to do, and we have someone's life who is in jeopardy. And so job number one is we got to find her, and we got to work hard to do that. I understand there's great attention on this, and rightfully so. And I appreciate it, and I thank you for it, because it has generated a lot of leads for us. And so we're tracking those leads, and we're doing things with evidence that you would expect us to be doing. So having said that, we're going to set this up. I know that a number of you yesterday, you guys drove me crazy. Yesterday, I was going from AM to all the way till 9, 10, 11 midnight, answering concerns and questions, and it's just too tough. And it's not fair to the case. So what I'm going to tell you is today we're going to do this similar to what we're doing right now. Here we'll take questions. It's not really my briefing, it's your briefing. You'll be able to ask us some questions. We'll probably shut you off after a while because I just can't be here all day. We have work to do. But we'll take some questions, and then in a couple of days, unless something breaks, we'll do this every couple of days. So, and we'll set up with you through our PIO teams to give you anything that comes up that might change, but clearly they will notify you on these, what I call media briefings. So with that, I'm going to ask John to come up. If you've got a statement to say, John, and then we'll take some questions and we'll get back to work.
Hello, I'm John Edwards. My spelling is Jonedwards. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the FBI's office here in Tucson. First, we want the community to know that the FBI is doing everything in our power to bring Nancy Guthrie home to her family. The FBI is working alongside the Pima County Sheriff's Department on this incident. In terms of what the FBI is doing, we are providing the following support. Primarily, it's analytical and technical support in the following ways. We're downloading and analyzing cell phones, obtaining cell tower information, conducting interviews, and providing any and all investigative support that the Sheriff's Department needs. We're looking at this from every angle, but we need your help. If you live in the area or saw something on Saturday night, the 31st of January, or Sunday morning, the 1st of February, please report it to the Pima County Sheriff's Department or the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Every lead and tip is important. We are aggressively pursuing and looking into every single one. Again, please help us bring Nancy Guthrie home. Thank you.
We'll take some questions.
Sheriff, is there any indication so far as to whether this was a random abduction or targeted?
It's like I said earlier, we're looking at all the leads, and we don't know. We're going to assume both sides of that. We'll look at both sides of that.
Sheriff, any idea what Nancy Guthrie was wearing, or the type of car that she might have left from, or any identifiable information that the public could use to help with those tips?
We do not.
Sheriff, do you believe that one or more than one person was involved in the kidnapping?
I just no clue. It could have been one. It could have been more. I don't know. Let me get.
Is there any indication that Nancy Guthrie is still alive? We know the medication played a critical role here. It's been 48 hours. She needs it every single day. Are you looking for someone that is still alive?
We hope we are. We hope we are.
Sheriff said earlier that you don't believe there's a wider threat to the public. If you're not sure if it's targeted, why do you believe there's no wider threat to the public?
Well, we have crime in Tucson all the time, right? Like any city. And so there, when you say a threat to the public, is there somebody out there who's kidnapping elderly people in the middle of the night every night? We've not heard that. We don't believe that's the case. We do believe that Nancy was taken from her home against her will, and that's where we're at.
Sheriff, when you
Sheriff.
reference violence at the site, can you elaborate on that? And also, was there a sign of forced entry, any valuables taken, any bank or ATM cards used after her disappearance?
We're not getting into that. What I'd tell you is, like any crime scene, we processed this crime scene. We gathered all the evidence we could, to include looking for what? Fingerprints, DNA, camera images, everything you can imagine. And we gathered that out. Those things have been submitted forward to labs, to technological companies to help us. And we're like you. We're waiting for those returns to come back.
Did you find DNA that did not belong in that house?
The window of time from when she was last seen to when she was reported missing, and I know you guys are asking for help from the public, is there any way to narrow down what time you might be helpful? I know there was a report about a pacemaker dinging like around 2 o'clock in the morning. Is there any way to indicate to people, hey, look around 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. to help them identify what they might have?
You know, I really don't want to get into narrowing down the time, because narrowing it down means we could miss some tips and leads. We're working on with the data we've submitted for investigative analysis. We're working to see if that time can be tightened up. But for now, we're going with what we told you earlier. She was dropped off at 9:30, and she was found to be missing at about 11 o'clock Sunday morning.
Sheriff.
Let me get this one.
DNA of anyone else found in the house?
We've submitted all kinds of samples for DNA, and we've gotten some back, but nothing to indicate any suspects.
Anybody strange in the neighborhood? I know you're looking at video, different surveillance camera, anything that we should be looking at, different cars.
I have nothing in that regard.
Have any demands been made by kidnappers?
We have all kinds of investigative leads we're working on.
Sheriff, we noticed that the camera on the front of the house is missing. Do you believe the perpetrator purposely took the camera?
Don't know that. We're looking into that as well. Yes, sir.
That scene been fully processed now. We saw deputies leave around 6 o'clock last night. We didn't see tape go up. You know, an Amazon driver was able to walk right up to the door. Is that pretty standard for how you handle this?
The scene is done. We're done with the residents. If we need to go back to get, maybe we want to do something with some other piece of evidence there, we contact the family and let them know. But we've turned that over to the family. I don't have the time, but it was sometime yesterday, I believe.
Did you cover any tire tracks or any
No, ma'am.
footprints around the house?
No.
Was there
Sheriff.
any?
Can you please take us through the timeline that you've established of the events so far, and with this one?
9:45, 9:30, 9:45, we were told she was left at her home by the family. At 11 o'clock in the morning, the family got notice from somebody at church that she was not at church. They went to the home, found her to be missing. That's the timeline. From Saturday night, 9:45, we'll say, to Sunday morning, 11 o'clock.
Had you been
Let me get somebody back here, please.
Have you interviewed the people that reported her missing, the people from the?
That's the family. Oh, from the church as well. We're doing all kinds of interviews. Yes, I'm sure we have.
Have you been able to access the footage from the cameras at the house?
Where that's all been submitted, and we're doing our best with those companies who own those cameras or built those cameras.
Are there any plans to release those videos from the cameras, from the surveillance? Are there any plans to release the video from the cameras, surveillance footage?
We don't even have them yet, so no, not at this time. This is an active investigation.
There's a report of a suspicious man a few doors down last week. Is that anything that you guys are aware of?
I'm not aware of it. My detectives may be. There's a lot of detective work being done, and I just can't get into those weeds or even discuss with you what they may not have learned.
For
Yes, ma'am.
Report from the board yesterday. Are there specific resources that maybe the board has not granted that would have made a difference responding to this case?
Well, that's getting into my own local politics. I apologize. Yes, the board a few weeks ago denied a request for more cameras, more drones, more AI capabilities with our own body-worn cameras. All those things, you'd have to talk to the board. I'm not probably not the right time to go into this.
Sheriff,
Let me get somebody else here.
Sheriff,
Yes.
do you believe she's still in this area?
Do we
Do
believe?
you believe she's still in this area, or is there somewhere else?
We don't know where she is. So you like any investigation, you start from the point of where we last saw her, and we work out. And we are working as far out as we can go.
Sheriff, can you walk through
were there
the evidence
instances
found?
of forced entry at the house, like any broken windows or whatever? Or does it seem like people just went in and out?
There are concerns at the house that concerned us from the early on part of this investigation, and that's all I will tell you. Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Is there any history with Nancy needing police at her place or concerns where she was worried about somebody following or?
You know, our investigative team has looked into all of those things, and that has not been brought to my attention. So she may have had something like that, but I'm not aware of it.
What is the extent of collaboration with the federal government? Obviously, FBI is here, CBP, are there other agencies also involved?
CBP's role in this was in our search and rescue mission, where we constantly use them. They have great dogs. Our dogs aren't tracking dogs for this. Theirs are, and so they came out and did that. Anybody else though that we've asked for help from, whether it's the FBI, I know if we needed help from CBP or DEA or ATF, they would gladly give it. I've heard from leadership from all sorts of agencies, not just at the federal level, but across the state. Every one of them saying, Sheriff, you need anything, we're here.
Sure. So you obviously said investigators, when they got on scene, they found suspicious circumstances. When the family called originally to report her missing, did they say anything about the state of the home?
I don't know that. I don't know. Let me hang on. Let me make sure I'm getting some different people here. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so there was blood that was found inside the house and you're testing it for DNA. How much blood and where was it?
I'm not saying there's blood inside that house or outside that house. What I'm saying is our team processed a scene like you would think of any crime scene. We go in and we process it. We look for things like that, blood, DNA, any kind of physical evidence, fingerprints, anything. And all of that is gathered and submitted to a lab. That lab will report back to us what they find. So far, what we found from that lab is nothing that would tell us this is who did this.
We'll take a couple more questions and then the sheriff's got to go.
Sheriff, can you walk through the evidence that was found at the scene in as much detail as possible?
No, I cannot.
What is
I
the
cannot.
bottleneck to the surveillance footage? I know you said some of it is in the cloud, but you've also been reached out to tech companies that are saying they're cooperating. Why do you not have the surveillance footage on media?
That's what I tell them. How come I don't have this? Where's my evidence? It is a process, and I'm sorry, but you know, we're grateful that there's large corporations and companies who have bent over backwards to help us, to say, hey, Sheriff, tell us what you need. And so, yeah, I can't slam them. And we've asked them. They know the urgency here, but I'm like you. What do you mean I don't know that now? Yeah, it's tough.
Follow up on an answer that you gave earlier. You were asked if there was You were asked if there was any ransom, and you didn't say no. You said we're following all leads. Does that mean a ransom has come in?
We're following all leads we have. That's all I can tell you. We've got hundreds of leads, and it's from you that produce those leads by telling people we need help, and I'm grateful for that. But I'm not going to get into all that. We have a team designated to deal with all of our leads. They're looking into all of that. We are sharing all of our leads with the FBI. They are helping us in evaluating those leads, how good they are, where their priority should be. And so we're just, look, I know you guys are doing your job and you're doing a great job, but we have a job to do too. And I really need to back away from this for a while. And we'll see you, unless something breaks, we'll see you Thursday morning. PIO will give you a time frame, I'm guessing somewhere around 11:30. But
That's it. Thank you.
I need your emails. If you are not on the email list, get with me in the corner. I'll be right by the sheriff's side, okay?
Okay, not a lot of information gleaned from this press conference. And yes, this sheriff is not well seasoned in giving press conference. That's clear and apparent, but we have to give him some grace because a lot of this information that he might have knowledge of, you can't divulge it. You can't give the perpetrators an idea that you're on to them. So there may be information, obviously, that they have to keep close. And I say that from a law enforcement perspective. You know, Nancy Guthrie, reported missing on February 1st, but last seen on Saturday night, January 31st. every single thing has to be tracked down. You're talking victimology from the inside out. You have to look at what you have going on. How many people had access to her home? Did she have a caregiver? You know, she's in her 80s, right? 84 years old. Was there a caretaker, a home health aide? Were there people who were hired by this family? They're a wealthy family. You know, her daughter, Savannah, host of, you know, very popular morning news. And you know, they have to run down all these leads, and you can't give up the shop to the public. So I just want to say, let's give this sheriff a little bit of grace. Yes, he's not great at communicating, but I think he is, he's like a regular guy, and he's talking to the media like he's talking to his colleagues. So not everybody's going to be well polished to speak to the media. And at the end of the day, Nancy Guthrie, they know there was a crime scene. You do not establish a crime scene unless a crime has occurred. And usually, as Ed Wallace, he'll be joining us shortly, as Ed Wallace will tell us, when the crime scene unit is involved, there is either a murder or something very serious that happened inside that home. So without him giving up information, the info that came out from, I believe it was the Times, they said blood was found inside the home. A reporter asked him about that, and he did not answer it. He did not answer it. So I want to thank everybody for being here. This is unscheduled. I scurried. Now that I'm retired fully, I'm not working anymore. I had to resign from my position as security director at Amazon. I am now home. So I'm here, and I saw that this press conference was coming on, and I figured I'd jump on it and bring it to you guys. So again, a lot of things unanswered, but at the end of the day, the postman, the UPS, the Amazon drivers, the garbage collection, if they happen on Saturday morning, everybody and anybody that was around Nancy Guthrie is going to be questioned. They're going to take her electronic devices. We heard the FBI, the CAST team is going to be involved. John Edwards is the lead in that region, in that part of the region. John Edwards, the FBI, cell phone data, analytics, cell tower data. They'll probably do every bit of electronic retrieval possible. If the home had Ring cameras or any of the different various home security camera systems, they will subpoena Ring or, you know, Arlo or any of those. They'll subpoena them. They have to go to the courts, get a judge to sign a warrant, and they'll subpoena those records. And I think obviously they know a lot more than they're telling us. And my guess is that, you know, unfortunately, I hope and pray that she's found alive, but I don't think that that's what we're going to have here, because Nancy requires medication that is to sustain her life. So it's, you know, we're looking at 48 hours now. Today's Tuesday. So Saturday to Tuesday, no medication. Her daughters and her family said that she could walk possibly 50 yards unassisted, but very slowly. So she's not very mobile. And this is a case that may not have a happy ending. I pray and I hope that there will be a happy ending. But just know this sheriff here that we saw today, and we saw a press conference yesterday from him, he's not doing the investigation. Remember, he's not the investigator in this case. There's homicide detectives, there's crime scene unit detectives, there's now the FBI. They called and reached out to the FBI. The FBI doesn't just show up and say, hey, we're here, we're ready to go. They need to be requested through proper channels to get involved in these cases. So let me know what you think in the comments section here in the live chat. Do you think that there's a chance that Nancy Guthrie will be found alive? Put a 1 in the chat if you think yes, and you hope and pray yes. Put a 2 in the chat if it doesn't seem good. From my point of view, from a law enforcement perspective, it's not good. Once this over 24 hours and she's not heard from, there's no communication, they did a canvass of the hospitals, obviously. I put a 2 in the chat, not to be a Debbie Downer, but just to be a realist. I believe that something nefarious happened to Nancy. The family may know more, and they might not be telling anybody. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. It is very sad. I'm seeing a lot of number 2s. I hope and pray that there could be a miracle here, but this is not looking good, folks. This is not looking like we're going to have a happy ending here. And at the end of the day, people, investigations take time. Crime scene did their investigation. They collected any DNA or any fingerprints, any type of material from the crime scene. They called it a crime scene. It's not me calling it a crime scene. They have labeled this as a crime scene. The home is in an affluent neighborhood in a very wealthy area, but it's not high population. There's not house next to house next to house. They called it a crime scene, and police, as Amazing Ant in the chat knows, police will not get on the microphone and say we have a crime scene if there hasn't been a serious crime happen. Our crime scene unit in New York really processes murder scenes, death scenes, violent crimes. So Ed will join us to go over this whole thing. Anything that's been collected is going to be processed at whatever laboratories they use, and that takes time. I'm sure it's all on a very, expedited request from the sheriff and the investigators. But yeah, this is not looking good, friends. So prayers for the Guthrie family. Yes, thank you, Pony Girl. How's everybody doing? What's going on out there with you guys? I like to always know what the heartbeat of Crime Time with Duty Ron and Ed Wallace is and what you guys are up to. I'm going to go back to, let me go back to a little bit of extended coverage that was happening here. I saw a little bit from Fox News. This was about an hour ago before this press conference. And guess what? We didn't learn anything from this press conference, right? We learned nothing from it, this press conference. There was no additional information. All the questions from the reporters, they asked, was this a random or targeted? He said, we're going to investigate this as both random and targeted. Was Nancy taken against her will from the residence? Do you have video of that? He didn't answer it. And just a lot of nothing. Somebody said it in the chat really well that we got nothing out of this press conference. And yeah, that's what it is. Let's take a look and listen here.
At her house sometime between 9:30 and 9:45 local time in the evening. Then on Sunday, 3 critical times in the morning, the family alerted the police when she did not attend church. Then at noon, the family churches and then contacts the sheriff's department that day. In the evening, the sheriff asked the public, as he is still doing today, to ask for more help and leaning on the public to give him any clues that they possibly can. Then we go to yesterday on Monday when it broke national news when the sheriff said Nancy did not walk away and the home is now a crime scene. You heard what Alicia reported there. The LA Times is suggesting that there was blood found back in that home. Paul Moore.
Now, let me just say this. I got to stop it right there because I like to make clarity here. The sheriff was pressed at that at that news conference. One of the reporters asked about that New York Times report, and he said, I'm not saying that there's any blood at the crime scene. So however that slipped out, whether that was a leak from sources, maybe it was a leak from within the sheriff's department, I don't know. But this is what the news reports will run with. And we got today no answer when he was pressed about that, about just what this reporter from Fox News said.
suggesting that there was blood found back in that home. Paul Moore is with us right now, Dana, to try and take us through this.
That's right. And Paul, before we get going, let's just listen to the sheriff on the evidence they are trying to collect and see what you think of that.
There's some evidence that we're trying to retrieve, and whether it's from cameras or digital evidence from cell phones, that technology that's.
And I want to say this, great question, Winnie the Pup. That's something that the police, the investigators, the homicide investigators, the crime scene unit, and all of the team that is, don't forget, there was a complete search by air and ground, volunteers and search and rescue. They covered a massive amount of ground. We saw that at the last press conference, but they know how she gets to church and back, but they're not saying it. They may even have a suspect or a subject, but they don't want to spook that person, so they possibly leave the United States or go on the run. Don't forget, in Tucson, Arizona is not too far from the Mexican border. So if somebody did commit a heinous crime and they know who did it, they don't want to lead them on to believe that they have a suspect, that they have identified a suspect, and have this person cross out of the United States into Mexico. And that's probably one of the reasons why this sheriff is not giving up anything. They probably know who it is or have an idea who it is, but they don't want the person to know that they know. They want the person watching it to think, oh, these are stupid cops. They don't know shit. They don't know anything. We're good. We got this. But the border to Mexico is a very short distance from Tucson. And it's a very easy run across that border. And once they were involved, the police were involved in this, they notified Border Customs and Border Protection. They notified the border. Were they on time? Or did they do it in time to catch these perpetrator or perpetrators? Did they do it in time? That's the question. We don't know.
So critical to us, our LPRs, our license plate readers, all of that. We think that once we get those things downloaded to us and have a look at them, we'll be in a better position.
Makes sense to you?
It does. Sounds to me like he's got his arms around this. He's got a lot of people working it. You have the feds there as well. And of course, CBP, because of the proximity to the border, which is a possibility you have to admit. Let's break out what he's talking about, the cameras. Most camera system these days at home, they don't pour into a computer locally. They go into the cloud. So he's probably trying to get to the company that administers all that, get that stuff out of there. You hope that's where it all went. A sad fact is that a lot of people put up cameras, then forget about them. They don't even realize they're not working after a long time. Let's hope the cameras are working. As far as the phone goes, we've all heard about that. Her phone is still there. You got to get into that phone to see if there's some kind of odd communication, something that jumps out at you.
All right, I want to stop it here because this is important on any of these cases, no matter if it's high profile like this one or not. The tip line is 520 area code 351-4900. Anybody that has any valid information or any information that you think is pertinent to this investigation, please call that tip line. Send in your tips. No tip is not welcomed on cases like this. They look at everything, and they have a whole staff of investigators manning this hotline.
You.
And so tell us a little bit, though, about trying to get into the phone.
Phones are really, really difficult these days. We remember about 10, 12 years ago, there was a big flurry of encryption. It was kind of an arms race between Apple and Google, who controlled 99.9% of the market, to see who could encrypt their phones the most. They set up systems so that even the companies cannot decrypt their phones. They did that purposely to ensure privacy. We remember it was James Comey, of all people, in the San Bernardino terrorism case. He said, I got the warrant. Apple, you have to do it. Apple said, we can't do it. Ultimately, they had to jailbreak the phone. They had to hack their way in. That's been the paradigm since. These phones can be extremely difficult to get into, and that's why they are going to do everything they can to get into there, because a lot of them are set that if you try to brute force your way in, that is to say, run millions of code possibilities, it wipes the phone.
Two things that strike me. They say she could not walk more than 50 yards on her own. I don't know if she had a walker or not. That has not been reported just yet, which suggests that she was put in a vehicle and perhaps driven away.
Right.
The second thing is the sheriff said, I need this.
I want to just stop it right there, because that scenario doesn't seem likely, because if it was that scenario, what's somebody going to do with an 84-year-old woman? What's the upside to abducting an 84-year-old woman and putting her in a car and driving off? If you didn't call or ask for a ransom, if you didn't, if there was, if they said, well, somebody has her and they're requesting $1 million, then that scenario to me would make sense. I think there was valuable items inside that home. Crime scene unit goes there when, a home is ransacked and a person is abducted out of it. They might have taken jewels and property and money that they're not talking about right now, or valuables, and then took her out of there and then discarded her somewhere. And again, like I said, I don't like to sound like a bad, doomsday fortune kind of person, but this is not going to end well. And I could just feel it just from watching this case and looking at all of the things that surround it. It just does not pass the smell test to me.
Community to step up and start giving us some calls.
Yeah.
That suggests to me a bit of desperation on behalf of the investigation.
I mean, look, he's right now dealing with a lot of unknowns, of course, and what they're hoping is that somebody saw something because they can narrow the timeline down, because they're going to be going along two tracks here. There's the track here potentially that it was somebody known to her and who knew who her daughter was, right? Which implies some sort of a ransom thing or something like that. Or something completely random that we're not perceiving right now. They immediately put out the tip line. They did put out a reward, but let's go to the car since you mentioned it real quick. There's likely, this is a desert area. They're going to have tire tracks, right? They probably have some idea, at least the size of the car. Is it a truck? Is it a sedan? That kind of a thing. But the other thing is this happened in the middle of the night. There's going to be a lot fewer cars on the road. I can guarantee you right now, they have an army of guys who are out there pulling cameras from the municipality, things that are owned by the town. You don't need a search warrant for that. They're asking the public for help. That's the kind of help they're hoping for. Ring cameras, even things like
those DOT cameras. We saw it in the Emmanuel Haro case. That was in not a very high populated area. They pulled all the DOT cameras. The Department of Transportation, the small towns have camera poles up at various intersections, for different reasons, for criminal activity, for, emergency service vehicles when they're going through intersections they want to see if they had their lights and sirens on. There's like many, many reasons why they have these pole cameras. Some of them are in higher crime areas or maybe higher, targeted areas where maybe banks and places, houses of worship and so forth. So they're going to look at these cameras, and this was all just 48 hours ago. They got this case Sunday morning. So we're here Monday, Tuesday. They're 2 days into this thing, 48 hours. A lot is going on. We don't know what they have right now. Oh my God, nothing. But they probably have something. Trust me on that, Josie Lou. It's not a bunch of nothing. They're just not able to put it out there for obvious reasons.
Like FedEx doing a delivery, they have the dash cam things. Remember the I often use the Koberger case because public knows it. Remember the Koberger case? They had nothing, and then they had this idea of the car, and a woman working in a gas station just said, "Let me look." She looks on her computer, the exterior camera caught the car fleeing the scene. Right then, they got time at that. They got that whole thing from that. That was a key clue. Yeah. They're hoping for something here because, as I said, middle of the night, a fewer cars on the road. Maybe you get a plate that shouldn't be there, a Mexican plate, an out-of-state plate, to say, what's this car doing here? And now you got something.
Okay. Paul, can we ask you just real quickly as well? Tyler Robinson, the alleged killer of Charlie Kirk, will be back in court for a hearing about such an outcome serves neither the
going to allow cameras, in my estimation, with motion. Children were in the crowd that day.
All right. So that was the basic background on what they have so far. So it's a whole bunch of nothing that they're giving out to us. But from a law enforcement perspective, I'm going to say this. They know a lot more than they are able to let out into the public. And, I also read that her daughter, Savannah, hired their own investigative team, their own private security or PIs that are working on trying to find out what happened as well. I don't know if that's true or not, but I did read that. But these law enforcers are working with federal, state, and local partners, and they're going to get this done. We're going to hear something hopefully sooner than later. On behalf of Crime Time with Duty Ron and Ed Wallace, we want to thank you for joining. I want to just say quickly, sending prayers and strength to Schmitty. She lost her mom. Her wonderful mother put up an unbelievable fight to stay alive. Her heart was so strong. So may Schmitty's mom continue to rest in peace, and God bless her soul. So thank you all for being here. Much love and respect. I am trying to get back into this thing with YouTube. I'm going to do my best. So I hope everyone continues to subscribe, like the video, share the video. Let us know what you think down below in the comment section. Later tonight, I'm going to try to lasso in Ed Wallace and get his take on the crime scene investigation involved in this Guthrie case. So on behalf of Crime Time with Duty Ron and Ed Wallace, we want to thank you and love and respect.